So in the last couple of years, I've spent over $100,000 into online courses at 20 years old, and let me explain to you why I'm not crazy. Now, before I explain how spending all this money on online courses allowed me to be making over $30,000 a month at 20 years old, I have to fill you in on the whole story and why I even decided to start investing in online courses in the first place. So during COVID back in 2020, as a freshman in high school, while everybody's completely online during their schoolwork and while my friends are thinking about what video game to play next, I was considering how do I take advantage of this situation and start my journey early in making money online. And that's exactly what I did. As freshman and sophomore year went by, I started watching a lot of videos on YouTube and trying to educate myself about online money. And I would literally sit behind my computer typing up on Google and YouTube how to make money online. I'm sure we've all done that at some point. Now, junior year is where I decided to actually take action. So this is where I took my high school credits I earned through freshman and sophomore year, transferred those credits over to an online platform, and within 3 months of actually locking in on schoolwork, I was able to obtain my legit high school diploma at 16 years old. So what that meant is that I had a lot of free time to focus on getting better, learning about money, and educating myself on skill sets that could increase my income. So during this season of my life, I would consider my first ever mentor to be Grant Cardone himself. I've probably watched over 1,000 hours of his videos, and after watching all of his content, I was the method. I ended up going into one of his funnels and purchasing my first ever investment online, which was a $2,500 investment to fly out to Miami and go to a real estate summit. So at the time I'm 16 years old, my mom had to come out with me. We had to pay for a hotel because I can't stay by myself. And during this event, this is where things really took a change. So here I am, sitting at this event, 16 years old, no confidence, no communication skills, surrounded by people who are literally 4 times my age. And meanwhile, all my friends are planning on what colleges they wanted to go to, and I'm just in this room putting myself in uncomfortable situations, trying to spark up conversations and learn things I've never learned before, sitting in the front row and taking all the notes. So this is like the first taste I got of surrounding myself with people who were actually in positions I wanted to be in. And this is a really, really important rule that I learned very early. Never take advice from people who are not in positions you want to be in. Here's the real sauce, guys. If you want to shortcut your success, don't try to recreate the wheel. All you have to do is find somebody in a position that has the car you want, the girl that you want, or the man that you want if you're watching this as a girl, the watch that you want, the house you want, everything you want in life, and pay them whatever dollar amount they ask to learn what they did. I guarantee you that'll be a way better investment than trying to sit in a classroom for 4 years, spend $100,000 or more in tuition costs, and learn from a professor who sits and drives in a Prius. Unless that's what you want in life, by all means. But for me, I had a completely different route, and this is the first taste that I got of putting myself in the right rooms. So if you've ever heard the term, when the student is ready, the teacher will appear, well, what I'm going to explain is a direct reflection of that term, just in real life for myself. And at the last day of the Grant Cardone event, they threw a last final hooray party for all the guests. So I'm at this event, mingling around, trying to connect with people, and I end up meeting this guy named Jay. So we end up having this conversation. I make a pretty good impression. I find out this guy is literally in the exact same position I want to be in. He has the supercar that I want. He travels the places where I want to go. He has the girl that I want. He has the nice suit that I want to wear. So by the end of the conversation, I realized that if I was going to learn from anybody, it would definitely want to be this guy. And funny enough, by the end of the conversation, he looks me right in my eye and he goes, "You know what, Gus? I see something in you that I've never seen in anybody else, and I want to work with you. But it's going to cost you $10,000. And I was like, wait, I'm 16 years old. I just spent $2,500 to be here, And now this guy's asked me to spend another $10,000 to work with him. I'm like, shit, this is a predicament. And if you're wondering how I got the money to even like invest in myself to begin with, guys, it was not handed to me at all. If you don't know already, at 14, 13 years old, you can legally get a job, anywhere. So I was a busboy dishwasher, hustling my ass off, saved up just under $15,000 at 16 years old. And I just had strict discipline, and I learned a lot being in the restaurant business. So I'm sitting in this conversation thinking about, if I spend this $10,000, it's literally going to drain my bank account. And in that exact moment, I thought to myself, is $10,000 really going to be the end all for me? Like, it's either I spend the $10,000 and it's all she wrote, or I spend the money and it all goes to plan, because that was what was written in stone anyway. So when I realized that there was no plan B, there was only plan A, and the only way to succeed is to succeed, I said, fuck it. I went all in. When I got back from the event, I put it on my debit card, sent him the money, and got started right away. But if there's any significant investment I made that literally changed the entire trajectory of my life, I would say it was that one. Not only did I get to become the right hand to Jay and literally get to work with him for over 3 years and be connected with his network, move out to his penthouse in Tampa Bay, travel around the world, film for him, build a community of people to over 500 members, and on top of that, getting gifted a watch, not just a watch, a Batman Rolex. That was probably the best investment I've ever made in my life. It was the highest ROI, not in dollar amounts, but in the skills that I actually was able to learn. So for people who are thinking, well, you're lucky, you just got that handed to you, absolutely not. That's just a coping mechanism that you guys are thinking of because you're not willing to put the work in to put yourself in those situations where you could potentially land that mentor. So again, I'm gonna say it again, when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. And that is the best and most simplistic way to put it. I fully believe that if you have less than $100,000 in your bank account right now, the only thing you should be investing in is you. Don't focus on the stocks and the real estate and the crypto just yet. You're gonna get there at some point, believe me. But all your energy, all your money should be flowed back into your own ability to just keep producing more. Now, around this point in my journey, I was just turning 18 and all I wanted to do was see my bank account grow. Now, when you're a mentee, apprentice, or someone who's like a right hand, you're not gonna get paid a lot in dollars, but you're gonna get paid a lot with experiences, resources, knowledge, and connections, which I think is very, very valuable as well. So the only skill I was missing now was sales. I already had the communication skills, I already had the confidence, and I already had the really clear mindset on what I wanted. All I needed was money. So what I did was I had to get out of my comfort zone again and make another really big investment into a mentorship about sales and high ticket remote sales in particular. It's actually so funny because I was always avoiding sales. I never liked the idea of picking up the phone and calling somebody, but full circle, the thing I was avoiding this whole time was actually the business model that allowed me to make my first couple $100,000 in the online money space. So all I had to do was pay somebody that was already a professional in sales, who was in a position I wanted to be in, who had the job that I want, they had the money that I wanted to make, and I just paid them to teach me their skill sets and to teach me how to land a really high paying sales role. And little do you know, my first month as a high ticket sales rep, I collected $150,000. My first month in high ticket sales, I made $15,000. Imagine that, 15 grand in your first month. And it was simple. All I had to do was buy courses. And the way I think of it is it's like an infinite return. Like if you were to invest in the stock market and put 10 grand in, if you made 10%, you made $1,000. Congratulations. But the way I think of it is if I invest into my own skill sets, my knowledge, my resources, my network, I'm gonna have those things for life. So it's an infinite return because I can always use them. They're never gonna go away. No one can steal my brain. They can take the watches, the cars, the clothes, the paintings, everything. They'll never be able to take away what you actually learn. And I have full believe that if you were to take everything away from me right now, the apartment, the desk, the plaques on the wall, I mean, the books, everything, I'm very confident that with the skills I've accumulated, I'd be able to build myself back up to 30 to 50K a month just from what I've learned and the network I've built so far. The point I'm trying to make here is that a lot of people have this negative belief around selling courses online or even buying courses online. But let's just be honest, selling information is not going anywhere anytime soon. I mean, even thinking about college. College is selling information. It's just extremely overpriced for not a lot of value. And I think more and more people are starting to understand that instead of going to college, they could use that money towards other avenues of education, like finding, a guru who is an expert in the industry or business model you want to get into. So I think instead of whomping about people making all this money online, I think you should instead take control and take advantage of the situation. And that's exactly what I've done, is I've realized there's a lot of people and creators who want to scale their online info products. And I've realized that I can just take my skill sets and the information I've learned investing in myself and help them grow their teams and just profit off of this booming industry. And that's exactly what I did. I pretty much now partner with online creators and experts in their own industries that want to sell online digital products. I help them scale their sales teams and their systems, and I take them to multiple six figures in cash collected per month and take a rev share off of what it's made. So spending over $100,000 into online courses wasn't just the only thing that contributed to my success as a 20-year-old making over 30K a month in this business model, but it sure did give me a lot of value, a lot of skills, and a lot of resources and network that I've leveraged to get me to the position I'm in today. So if you guys are considering making that next big move for yourself, or if you have less than $100,000 in your bank account, all you should be focusing on is investing in yourself. So if you guys like this type of content, drop a like, drop a comment, and subscribe for more. We post every single week, so stay tuned for the next video, and I'll catch you in the next one.